once you understand that that's the journey, if you are the hero archetype, well, now you know the path you're supposed to walk down. You know what you're supposed to do, which means that now you can become a fulfilled person. You can find your meaning, you can find your purpose, and you know how to go about doing it. Once you realize that you're the caregiver and you know the caregiver's journey, now you know how to successfully navigate that, become the thing that you want to become in life, or at least the thing you should be. Last part. Now we have the archetypal story structures. Researchers have also identified archetypal story and character structures. So these don't come from Jung. This comes from people who have taken what Jung talked about and tried to apply it. So remember earlier I was saying that you can watch a movie. Once you understand the archetypes, you can watch a movie and you can figure out the whole plot, how things are going to happen. Yep. A big reason for it is because you come to realize that there are only really 7 plots of any movie. Think about any movie that you enjoy or any movie that you hate. And you're going to realize that they all fall into one of these 7 categories. And by the way, it's not just movies, it's books, TV series, anything like that. The first one is overcoming the monster. A protagonist sets out to overcome an antagonist. It's essentially, a good guy against a bad guy. I'm sure you can all think of movies that are along these lines. What's a movie that kind of goes on? What's that?
Friday.
Friday is actually not too bad. That's interesting. That's interesting. He's trying to overcome Debo. I met that dude. Wait, he's a giant. I delivered a pizza to him. Yeah, he lived in Echo Park. That was he. I didn't know it was him, but back then we called him Zeus because he was a professional wrestler for a while, and he used the name Zeus. And I got to his door to deliver, and he lived in like a condo complex. So I had to buzz him, and he let me in. And then I go in to deliver the pizza, and he opens up the door, and he's like, he's cross-eyed. And so there's this like monster just standing in front of me. Hey, Daniel, how much do I owe you? And I was just like, it's Zeus. And he laughs. He says, that's me. And he's like, all right, come on in. And I don't know why. I was like, Zeus invites you in, you go in. So I walked into his house, and something stuck out to me about the guy. The guy had Bibles everywhere. The guy had a Bible on every single flat surface that was in the house had a Bible on it. It was interesting. I walked in, I just said, that's a lot of Bibles. And he's like, there's a lot of spiritual truth. And that's what he said. I go, I hear you, man. $12.48, whatever the price was. Yeah, I delivered a few pizzas. He's a really nice dude. Didn't tip much, but you know what? He's a nice guy.
Interesting.
Rags to riches is the second one. That's when you get a main character who begins humbling and then acquires great wealth and power. You can even think of like Harry Potter is that. He starts off in a very low position in life, and then he becomes something much, much more. Yeah. The quest. We have to go acquire an object or a location. Yeah. Like Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. I'm going to put your name on this, man. That's going to be known forever. Voyage and return. Protagonist goes to a strange land, overcomes, and comes back. Like the Odyssey, something like that. A comedy. Comedy. Challenging circumstances with a happy conclusion.
Like Ulysses.
Tragedy. Character's flaw leads to their demise. Something, they've got some kind of a flaw, and it leads to them collapsing. And then rebirth, an event forces protagonists to change, become a better person. So all of the movies that you watch, they fall into one of these 7 categories. And you might be like, well, what if it's more than one? It's one. It's one. The problem, when we watch a movie and we think like, I don't know, I feel like they were trying to do too much. We don't know how to explain it. That's what we're getting at. Yeah, they tried to do too much. They tried to cross too many of these genres together on the archetypes. So one of them that we come across is the hero's journey. This is laid out pretty well by a guy named Joseph Campbell. I feel like we looked at something from Campbell, a quote maybe first semester. But he wrote this book called The Hero's Journey. And he looked at myths from all over the world, all across time, blah, 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 specifically ones that relate to heroes. And it's from him that we get this idea of the hero's journey. It's a person who, quite broadly, there's a lot going on. There's 17 steps to it. But in short, we can look at it as there's this hero who lives in just kind of like an ordinary world. Ordinary for them or ordinary for us. And there's some kind of a call to adventure. They're told, like, Harry, you're a wizard. And he's being told, come on, let's go do this great thing. Get in the car, loser. And then there's a refusal of the call. No, I can't do that, man. I can't do that. And then they meet a master who teaches them that they can actually do something great. And then they have to cross a threshold, meaning that they have to kind of respond to the call to action. So the call to adventure. So many of us, by the way, are called to adventure. The difference between the hero and most of the rest of us is that the hero goes, all right, and they cross the threshold. The threshold means that they've made a decision. When you guys go to leave here, you cross the threshold of the door. That means that you have decided to leave the class. You're still here until you cross that threshold. You're still in the world that you grew up in, and you're not becoming a hero until you decide to cross that threshold. And it's all about how it is that we respond to this call of adventure. Again, that's kind of the first hallmark of the hero, that they cross the threshold. They become something, they choose to risk to become something more than what they are. And then after that, we got the approaching of the dragon's den, something that challenges them. And then they fight this dragon, the thing that they have to overcome, which we talked a lot about the dragons first semester. And then they win, they seize the treasure. And then they go back. And then sometimes there's a resurrection where they become better. Maybe they died literally. But you guys saw The Matrix?
Yes.
Yeah, remember at the end Neo dies and then he comes back?
Morbius.
Something more powerful. We return with it, and then they come back and they tell people about it. And so if you understand that you're watching a movie that features some kind of a hero, well now you know, okay, so it's, this guy's going to, or this person is going to have a call to adventure. They're going to refuse the call. They're finally going to go along with it. They're going to meet someone who's going to tutor them on it. And then you can start to look at the characters who materialize in the movie and say, that person's going to be the person who leads them. That's going to be the master. That person's going to be the thing that they have to overcome. At the end, they're going to have to be reborn from this circumstance or whatever. So once you understand those, you understand how all these things are. But by the way, these things don't just come out of nowhere. Again, these are things that are deeply embedded in us. Literature is just an expression of our psychology. When we watch a movie, we watch a TV show, what we see on the screen that's being written out is something that exists in all of our collective minds. Because if it didn't exist in all of our collective minds, nobody would go watch it. It has to be something that we can all relate to at some level. Even if you've never lived as a hero, you have an archetypal understanding as being part of our culture of what that is to be that way. And then once you realize that that's what it is, well, now you see how it's going to unfold. And by the way, once you understand that that's the journey, if you are the hero archetype, well, now you know the path you're supposed to walk down. You know what you're supposed to do, which means that now you can become a fulfilled person. You can find your meaning, you can find your purpose, and you know how to go about doing it. Once you realize that you're the caregiver, and you know the caregiver's journey, well, now you know how to successfully navigate that and become the thing that you want to become in life, or at least the thing that you should be. Because remember that there's what we want, and there's what we should have. There are the things that we need, and there are the things that we want. And you can't always have the thing that you want. And by the way, I wonder if you really saw the end of the thing that you want. I wonder if you'd really want that thing. Because what we really want, what we should want in life are the things that we need. In other words, you might say, now I want to win the lottery. And then you never win the lottery, and you think you're particularly cursed because you never were rich. Well, imagine that. You do what you do in the lottery, and then you buy a private plane, and then the first day you're on that plane, the plane goes down, crashes, and you die. So you got to live as 10 days as a millionaire. I wonder how many of us would say, yeah, that's the life I want, rather than if you could see the other course of your life. Marriage, family, children. Ups and downs, struggles for sure, but something very precious at the end of a long life. And you had those two paths in front of us. I wonder how many of us would choose the thing that we thought we wanted. Because it turns out we didn't want that after all. And instead we got the thing that we needed. So maybe it's a process of appreciating the things that we need and that we do get, rather than pursuing the things that we want that just seem so elusive. The hard, I guess, again, wisdom is being able to figure out which of those two things it is. So, yes. And questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms?